Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. On someone's community tab a couple of weeks ago, I saw a preview for Sci-Fi September, and though I haven't seen anything else floating around BookTube about Sci-Fi September as a bookish event, I really liked the idea of it and decided to do my own because there are plenty of sci-fi books that I want to get to, but since I'm so easily distracted and such a mood reader, I haven't read them yet. So I want to go through my choices, my pile of possibilities of science fiction to read next month in September, starting with two audiobooks that I already own. The first is Use of Weapons. I started with Consider Phlebas, then I read A Player of Games. Use of Weapons, I think, is going to be the culture's take on a super secret agent thriller type novel. At least that's what I gather from the very beginning. I've read the first chapter or two, and one of their illustrious agents has been recalled to do a job and it is now about to embark to do that job. They don't really want to do it, but the world building and the resources that the culture have just makes being a spy a very unique and tricksy thing. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. The second audiobook on my list is Children of Memory, the third book in the Children of Time trilogy by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I thoroughly enjoyed the first two books. Book two really took the story and the plot to a whole new level. So I'm very excited to see what happens in this novel and how it's all concluded. That was actually a trilogy that I enjoyed so much. I gave my physical copies to my dad to borrow. I was like, you have to read these. And he read book two so fast and went out and bought book three. So he might actually be finished with it before I listen to this audiobook, but it is a higher priority for me. Then as far as books that I already own, whether in physical or ebook form, Gate of Ivral. In this world, there are these interplanetary, interstellar gates that connect the worlds. And in the past, some dastardly person went through and did something that really warped space and time, and now these gates are very dangerous and they must be closed. Morgana travels with her honor-bound guard, and they go to these different planets and they close these different gates before they can threaten the integrity of the universe. That's what I understand about these. They're classics. You can kind of tell by the cover. It looks like that really old school cover that I just really like the art on them. I also need to read the third novella in the Skyward Flight. So this is a bind-up of the three novellas. Even though this is the last one I need to read, it's basically novel length. The novellas have been interesting as far as giving insights into the world building that are important and come into play in the Skyward series, but Brandon Sanderson never explicitly explains it in the series itself, so it's good to read these for context. These are co-authored with someone else, and they're okay. I'm mostly reading it so that I know that I have all the information I need going into the last book in the Skyward series, Defiant, which comes out in a couple months. So once I finish the last novella here, I'll be all set for that. This book is a stand-in for the one I want to talk about. This is the first book in the trilogy, but the book that I have on ebook is the third and final in the trilogy. It's called Chase the Sun, I believe, or Escape the Sun. This trilogy is about different members of this smuggler crew, and in the first book, they wind up needing to ally with a faction of the military of like a species that humanity has been at war with that have kind of these really interesting powers. There's a web of betrayal and politics and everything, so they're continuing the problem that was opened up in the first book has been continuing throughout the trilogy. So the third book follows a different set of characters. They are sci-fi romances. Rather than focusing more on like directly the military interface, I think both of these characters are more on the smuggler side. I'm not quite sure. I think they're competing too for a job, so there should be some good tension in the third book. The last physical book is one that I didn't know that we owned. I discovered it when I was moving books to the new bookshelf. This was on my husband's bookshelf, Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. I think one of his earlier works. It's a Nebula Award and Hugo Award winner about this large object that enters the solar system, turns out to be a spaceship filled with these aliens called Romans, I think. Humanity goes to rendezvous with them. It's not very long. We own it, and it's one that I should read. Briefly, I want to mention 2 sci-fi e-arcs. I got these through NetGalley. Generation Ship by Mike Mamay, which is about people on a generation ship and things start to go wrong as they approach the planet that they are supposed to then colonize. The Burning Stars. This book, I've heard nothing but good things from the early reviews. It is a space opera following 3 main characters who are thrust into this web of politics and betrayals and are basically used as pawns in this expansive plot, and that's all I know about it aside from the fact that people really, really love it. And then if I read all of those or don't feel like reading those or want to pick from more science fiction, I have 2 backup books that I don't own, but I know my library has. And actually, each of these I've checked out before, but just haven't gotten to it yet and then had to return it. The first of those is Ocean's Echo, which is following 2 people as they have to work together on this job for the military. One is there against his will. He has this power where he can read minds, which is highly controlled by the government. And the other is there as like his minder to make sure he doesn't go rogue and wreak havoc. So they embark on this mission and a relationship develops from there. The second book is called The First Sister, which is about this woman who is in this sisterhood that travels with soldiers from Earth and Mars, but has no autonomy. Like, however the civilization world building is set up, this person doesn't even own their own body, their own mind, their own soul, and they wind up getting captured or abandoned on a separate spaceship that is captained by someone that is considered a traitor to the general government and has to try to work with this person to survive, and this person is either out for redemption or they're out for revenge. I guess we'll see. Again, I've heard really good things about that one as well. It was comped to The Handmaid's Tale, which gave me a little bit of pause because that just like supremely stresses me out. Years ago when I read The Handmaid's Tale, I was like, why am I reading this? Because this is inducing so much anxiety in me. But I don't think that's the reaction that people have while reading The First Sister. I do not read books with the intention of becoming stressed. I do it because I want to relax and enjoy myself and get swept up in another world. So those are 2 more options if I want to pick from them throughout the month. Of course, I don't think that I'm going to restrict myself just to science fiction. I love my fantasy. I love to pick up subgenres of romance. I've been really reading more Kindle Unlimited lately because I have the subscription, so I want to get my money's worth out of that $10 a month or whatever it is. And since I enjoy romantasy and some contemporary romance, I've been kind of dabbling in there as well. So we'll see what mixture I get, but hopefully can make a lot of progress on these sci-fis that have been on my shelf for some time. What do you think about my picks? Are there any that you think are really great that I should make sure that I read? Or any others that you're noticing on my shelf where it's like, hey, you haven't mentioned this book, why not you read that? Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could give it a thumbs up, if you could subscribe if you haven't already, that would really help my channel to grow. I have a short-term goal of 400 subscribers, so help me hit it, please. And as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks.